Greetings. I'm Patrick Muhammad with Engine of the Nation on NNV News. Today we have a special guest with us, Ray Muhammad from Green Life Gardens. Ray, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. And yourself?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Brother Ray, it's indeed a great honor to have the opportunity to have you on Engine of the Nation. Can you
Yes,
tell us
sir.
a bit about how you got into gardening and farming?
Yes, sir. I've been into this about 13 years, going on 13 years. In 2008, a group of brothers here in Houston pulled their resources together as we've been taught by the Honorable Muhammad and bought some land to start a dairy farm. At that point, I didn't know anything about farming. I'm from the city of Houston, the inner city of Houston. So, as far as being out in the country and stuff like that, it was completely new to me. The brother that was in charge of the dairy operation was Brother Kelvin Muhammad. And as far as the day to day operations of the farm, he was pretty much the only one out there. And I decided that I wanted to help him out with the day-to-day operations. So I began to go out there about 3 days a week. And being out there on the farm, I just completely fell in love with it. And so the first year we was just pretty much the dairy cows, and then the second year I decided to start a garden out there. And just like everybody else, my first year and it really my second year, it was miserably failing. I mean, big time. It was, but it was the beginning,
Mhm.
and that's how I started. The year after that, the Honorable Minister Farrakhan named it the Year of the Farm,
Wow.
and it was just absolutely solidifying the course that I needed to be on, being that I was just starting. So that was my start.
Now, have you had any formal or informal training that you accredit to allowing you to be doing this for over 13 years?
Oh, absolutely. The second year that I was growing, I had a little more success. I really enjoyed it, but I knew that there was a lot of information that I needed to learn. So I decided to take a course, and here in Houston, there's an organization or a group called uh, Urban Harvest, and they offer courses. And at that time, they was offering a 6 month course to be a certified organic gardener. And when I heard about it, I immediately jumped on
Hmm.
it. And from there, I learned so much. I really, appreciate them for giving that class. They taught so much. But the biggest thing that I learned, and the most important thing that I learned, is that growing is not about the plant, it's about the soil.
Mm.
And literally the next season, my production was, I mean, through the roof. I went from growing 2 foot tomato plants that barely produced to that following, after I learned that information, the following season my tomato plant was so tall that it was falling over the tomato stakes. It was literally about 6 or 7 feet tall. So I definitely accredit that to that course, Urban Harvest. And then the minister sent a group of us to Milwaukee, Will Allen's Growing Power, and that was a 5 month course that I took on urban farming. So I took those two formal educational courses, which helped me tremendously.
Wow, wow. And that Will Allen, I'm sure, was one of a kind.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, yes sir.
when you talk about the soil, and I don't want
Hmm.
to miss the importance of that, tell
Hmm.
our audience what makes up a good composition for maximum growth with the soil.
Um, that's a that's a big question. Um, so the in general, you want good organic matter. Uh, Organic compost or compost. And just a side note on that, you go to the store and you see organic soil, organic compost. That's a marketing tool. As
Mhm.
long as there's nothing added to it, it's organic. Soil is organic as long as nothing's added to it. So if you have good compost, humus, and good organic material, that pretty much sets you up for a good soil web structure. And the reason why I say that that's a complex question is because that's like pretty much your foundation. Over time, the soil mends together and create its own fertility. What the soil does on its own is really nothing that we can create. It's something that we have to manage the environment and the condition of the soil, and it does it. It really does it on its own. And this is the big difference between organic and synthetic farming. When you put synthetic chemicals, the pesticides, and the fertilizers in your soil, it doesn't allow the soil to create this natural fertility that it will naturally create. And a lot of time people do it because they want results right away, and that can take years to get to that fertile soil level.
And so in that, I hear uh, the word patience.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
so tell us a few characteristics or character making situations
Mhm.
that farming has taught you and that you have now applied to your day to day life.
Um, that's a good question. I'll definitely have to say, and I answer it from the day to day life. Patience is critical. Now, Ms. Farrakhan points out to us that Allah says in the Quran, "Seek my assistance through patience and prayer." He puts patience before prayer
Mm,
because if you go to Him, to your God, whatever you call Him, if you go to Him and you don't have patience, then you're praying in an impatient way. Then what you're looking for won't come. And
mm,
it's the same thing with our children, same thing with our wives. You have to be patient to see the outcome of what your work, what you're trying to see from the fruit of your work.
mhm,
So then it goes the same principle as it relates to really to nature. These are principles. Anything in gardening, which is the same in farming, is a part of the principles that Allah has created this universe off of. It takes patience. So when you put work in to the soil, you have to wait for those micro life organisms in the soil to create the soil into what you want it to grow in. There's a good story about um, a Chinese farmer who grows bamboo, and
mhm,
the story goes that, and the short version of it is that Chinese bamboo takes about 5 years to grow, but in the meantime, the plant stays around uh, 2 or 3 feet tall.
mhm,
But it's not until you get to the fifth year, within 6 weeks, the plant has a 90-foot growth spurt.
mm.
Now, the question is, how long did it take for the plant to grow 90 feet? It took 5 years. You
Right.
just didn't see the growth from the plant until the last 6 weeks. But up until that point, you had to consistently do what you was responsible for doing, which is the maintaining of the plant until it reached its growth spurt.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Now, my
Yes, sir.
question for you is tell me one of your greatest obstacles that you've had to face as it deals with farming.
Oh, that's a good question. Um, so I operated a urban farm in Houston, actually on the property of our mosque number 45, which was about an acre. And on that acre, I had 34 raised beds, a
Mm,
hoop house, aquaponic system, and I also was raising broilers, meat chickens.
mhm,
And um, in the process of raising them, which was totally new to me, I had not once but twice a pack of dogs to get to my chickens, and I mean, completely demolished them. And that was the most challenging moment that I've had in agriculture. The first time that happened, um, I want to say that they wiped out about 50% of my flock,
Mm,
and I made the corrections. You know, thought I did. I made the corrections. I fortified everything, and the next batch of chickens that I had, they was within 2 weeks of harvest, and man, I remember pulling up to the mosque and seeing white feathers
mm,
everywhere.
mm.
And man, I'm telling you, it hurt so bad. It hurt so bad. It made me question: am I supposed to be doing this?
Mm.
I mean, it was definitely a challenge. It was definitely a challenge. But one thing that has driven me in this is the honorable Farrakhan. He's always personally told me that he was proud of what I'm doing. He's personally encouraged me to continue to do what I'm doing and to teach others how to grow and teach them the importance of growing. So, by the grace of Allah, I'm striving to do that.
Yeah, and those are some of those things that we can tell people
Hmm.
what can happen when but
Right,
do it day to
right.
day. Every day is different.
Every day, every day.
We have a
Yeah.
rule in our house. My son and I is we close every gate, every
Right.
gate, and leave it open. Say I'll get back to it. Every gate has to be closed because
Every day.
you get distracted, you forget, and now your livestock's out on the road.
Yep. All it takes is one predator
Yep.
at that day that you forgot.
Yep.
There's no redos. You can't do it over. It's done.
It's
You come
done.
out there and them raccoons and got to the chickens. It's you can't redo that.
No,
So you absolutely right. You have to be proficient with your security measures when it comes to raising
and
live.
same vein, when it's time to go to market,
Right.
you successfully outwitted, the predators,
Right.
and then
Right.
you price.
Right.
That's
Right.
trying to haggle you on the price, but
Hmm.
everything that went into getting that finished product.
Right. Exactly.
Share
Exactly.
with in the same vein some of your greatest successes in the last.
Hmm. I would definitely say really that same property, being able to manage 34 beds, to build a hoop house, the aquaponic system. It really, uh, for me personally, um, I was able to have a vision, see something that I wanted to build, and then build it, and then manage it. I managed it for 2.5 years. So as far as growth experience, it really taught me a lot. So I would say that is definitely, a big accolade of mine personally,
Mhm.
to accomplish that. Other than that, I would say that another thing that I'm definitely proud of is being able to help other people. I have a business where I go and build raised beds for people who contact me, and that's another thing that I definitely enjoy is to be able to help people, and then for them to send me pictures of their garden and their garden doing well. It definitely is gratifying to me to see other people be successful and that know that I was able to help them with that.
Yes, sir. And so that's the Green Life Gardens consultation piece.
Yes, sir. Consultation and garden installation.
Okay, okay.
Yes, sir.
If for our listening audience, especially those in the Houston area,
Hmm.
they said, "Hey, I want to get started doing right," and they
Right.
put a plot of land or in the front or the back or the windowsill. Like, what
Hmm.
steps they should they start preparing for a garden for summer 2021?
Um, I would definitely say to start early. It well depends. So we'll go through different stages, different stages or different types of growing. If you're going to container grow, which if you live in an apartment or something like that, then the main thing for you is just preparation in reference to buying the materials. You want to start in the spring. Here in Houston, that's March. Um, but if you're going to be either growing in the ground or building a raised bed, then you definitely want to do a lot more preparation as far as the soil is concerned. And again, the main thing is the soil. And if you're building a bed, then the composition that you want to use is and you want to get a good garden soil mix there. Here in Houston and pretty much any place in the U.S., they have soil yards, and you can get they sell soil by the either the half yard or the yard. And for one raised bed, you're looking at about 3/4 of a yard. And you want just a garden mix that they have from any one of the places. That's just your foundation. But you want to add fertilizer and you want to add worm castings and compost to that. So that's some things that you want to start planning for coming into the spring, into the summer season. Another thing that you want to plan for, which a lot of people don't necessarily plan for, is what are you going to grow, and then the succession of growing, because spring here starts pretty much March, and you want to during March you're going to start your bell peppers, your tomatoes, the corn, but you have to wait until a little probably into April to start doing like eggplant, cucumbers, and your squashes, and then it's not until the close to May that you want to start putting down okra and eggplant more so. So with that, you got to think about space. If you only got one bed, if you plant your whole bed up with string beans in the beginning of March, then you got to know that by the end of May, then you got to think about what you're going to put next, because you're going into the summer season. So it's just pretty much planning what you're going to grow for the spring into the summer. And then another thing that I have to mention as well, and this is something I tell people as it relates to learning and advanced learning when it comes to growing, is crop selection based upon your family. And this is critical as it relates to survival. We're going into a period where famine is going to be here in America, and you can't just grow stuff because you like the way it look. I love the way artichoke plants look. If you don't take the artichoke turns into a beautiful purple flower that looks so bright purple. It's beautiful, but the plant growth span is about 4 feet. And so if you think about a one raised bed, you put one artichoke plant, it's going to take up half of your bed and may produce two artichokes. That's not enough substance for your family, especially during times of survival. So you have to think about things that you can plant in a condensed space that's going to give you enough substance for your family to survive during a period of shortage of food.
If we said, what is Green Life known for right now?
Mhm.
What are you all known for?
I would say right now that we're known for installation of raised beds and teaching people how to grow their own foods. That's the main thing that we focus on. Right now, I don't have the urban farm no more. I pretty much grow in my own backyard, and the majority of my customers and the people that know me call for advice. And I think that's the greatest thing, because I could grow produce and I can sell it to you and I can make money. But if I teach you how to grow your own, then I increase your knowledge and increase your wealth and help you to provide security for your family. So it goes to the phrase of, you teach a man, if you give a man a fish, then you feed a man. But if you teach him how to fish, then he can feed his family and the nation.
And I have to bear witness to that, Brother Ray. I don't know if you even remember this,
Hmm.
but when we were considering farming down here, Brother Leroy put me in contact with you, and we didn't.
Hmm.
And brother, the guidance that you gave us as a collective then is
Hmm.
what's sustaining my farm now,
Man, praise be to Allah.
brother. Because at that time you didn't know me other than as a brother be on details with us.
Right, right.
You spent that time with me, and it was
Yes, sir.
you all were dealing with the dairy cows, and just your
Right.
advice gave me gave me like years of wisdom in a small amount of time, which
Yes, sir.
me to be able to transition to the form. So I just want to publicly say, brother, thank you, because what you just shared about teaching a man, you taught me, and
Praise be to Allah.
my family is benefiting from that. I probably need to put something in the mail to you because
My man. Now, I gotta say that it's the minister. The
yes.
minister inspired me. The minister motivated me. The minister gave me instructions.
Hmm.
So it's him that we have to be grateful for,
Right.
because if it wasn't for him, then I wouldn't be giving this and sharing this information. So I'm grateful just to be a servant and a vessel, that he can motivate me, that I can share information. And keep in mind, he was the one that pulled this group together. That when we went to Growing Power Milwaukee, Will Allen's place. So praise be to Allah, and I'm definitely grateful for the minister motivating me and encouraging me on this course of growth.
Absolutely. What do you see the future of green light? And I would say in the next 6 months, a year, and 5 years.
I would definitely say in the next 6 months, preparing to go into the spring here in Houston, everywhere. Spring, for whatever reason, people like they go in a full drive for spring gardening. And that's where the majority of my customers call in. We're doing a lot of beds and a lot of educating during the spring.
Mhm.
The next year, our plan is to increase our customer base. The next 5 years, we're actually looking to purchase land to build a farm community.
Mm,
Um, my objective is to not just teach on a small level and follow the Amizu's Farrakhan's instructions on a small level, but to do it on a large level,
yes.
large scale. So we have to create agricultural schools
Mm,
in our nation. That way we can teach, and we can teach children from a college level, and then teach them to where they can take what they learn and then go into their community and do the same thing. So it become, what greater way than to multiply your efforts than to teach the people. And if
yeah,
I teach them, then they teach more. I mean, famine in our community, it'll be present, but it won't have a harsh effect on us because we'll know how to grow our own foods.
absolutely. And in that same thought, talk to us a little bit about like seeds and seedlings and how best to get them. Where should we get them? Where should we stay away from? Can you share with us your recommendations as it relates to seed?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There's quite a bit of places to get seeds from now. If you pretty much go to online and search heirloom seeds, there's a lot of websites that sell them. One of my favorite places, because they're consistent, is High Mowing Seeds, which
Hmm.
is all organic, and Johnny Select Seeds.
Okay.
Johnny Select Seeds, they sell organic seeds, and but they sell hybrid seeds as well. How Mowing Seed only sell organic seeds. Now the difference between, because I get this question a lot: should I get organic seeds or should I get non-organic seeds?
Hmm.
The what you want to stay away from is treated seeds. Treated seeds have a chemical on them that stop them from rotting in the soil. But that is an actual chemical, a fungicide that they put on the seed to stop it from rotting. You want to stay away from that. But other than that, there is a slight benefit to getting organic seeds. The reason being is because it came from an organic plant. And so, being that the plant was raised in an organic condition, then
Hmm.
the seed genetically will be better suited for organic conditions. So that's really the difference. Outside of that, then you want to stay away from GMO seeds. Of course, those are horrible. But now most seed companies, they let you know right up front that they don't sell GMO seeds, that their seeds are hybrid or open pollinated or heirlooms. If you're going to save your seed, then you want to get open pollinated or heirloom seeds. That way you can take the seed from what it is you grew, and then you can reproduce it, and it will reproduce what it just fruited. The difference is a big difference right there. Because people say, "Well, I took it, it grew. I had some seeds, and I don't know if it was open pollinated or heirloom, and the plant grew, and yeah, it'll grow. The plant will grow, but the fruit that it produced won't be of the same consistency. So the best way to make sure that you're getting consistency with your fruit is to make sure, if you're going to save the seed, is to make sure you're using open pollinated or heirloom seed.
Uh,
And then in reference to seedlings or transplants,
mhm.
um, that's an even more difficult one, because if you're buying it from a nursery, if the nursery is not making their own transplants, then you're pretty much going to be left with them ordering it from a grower. And unless they have a lot of information on the grower, you really won't know what type of seeds they use. So my suggestion is, going into the spring of 2021, is to find a nursery that knows their grower. That way, when you ask questions about the transplants, you ask, "Hey, are these the grower of these transplants? Are these GMO seeds that they use? Or are they hybrids, or they open pollinated?" They can let you know, and then you'll know, like, okay, I like this nursery because they are well informed about their products that they have.
Awesome. Speaking of saving, I had Brother Elliot Rashad on last week, and
Hmm.
we talked about the visit when the minister allowed the farmers to come up. And
Yes, sir.
Eugene let us taste the garlic. A couple
Yes,
of tasted. We actually brought the little clove home. And
yes, sir.
so, talk to us a little bit about what herbs are necessary, in a family garden. What's your recommendation for herbs?
Like you just said, I mean, garlic chives, onion chives. Even though onion and garlic is kind of like a herb, but those are critical because of the healing properties of those. But then you also have cilantro. Cilantro is critical. I'm not a fan of cilantro, but my wife, I just tell my wife loves it. I tell her I don't fuss too much because I know the properties that it have to get rid of heavy metals in the body.
Mhm.
So cilantro is another important herb. Sage is another good herb to grow as well. Um, those are the ones that stick out to me. That, based upon my information and what I know, I'm not really big with herbs,
Mhm.
um, but those are the ones that I primarily grow because of what I know. Herbs, now keep in mind, every herb that we buy from the store comes from a plant. So based depending on the region, you can grow it. Elderberry grows on a plant. It's like little berries
Right.
that grow, and you can, if you in a region where you can grow, you can literally grow it. Take the elderberries, turn it into a syrup or a juice, and you got elderberry. And here it is, this thing that they selling for 14, 15, $20 a bottle. You can grow it in your backyard.
Right.
Echinacea is another one. You can grow echinacea. Hibiscus is medicinal. It's a lot of all the herbs that we buy from the store. They can be grown. So when it comes to herbs and the power of herbs, man, they're definitely powerful. And it depends on. Now, I tell people this: it depends on what it is that you're looking for herb. My suggestion would be to find a plant and do the research on it and see if you can grow it in your region and look to grow it. It'll be better for you to do it that way.
Absolutely. And thanks again. I
Yes,
thank
sir.
Into National Network View, we're going to pause for announcements from the final call.
Greetings. This is Tarika Shakir Muhammad with National Network View. This week's issue of the Final Call honors a servant, scholar, and soldier, Minister Abdul Allah Muhammad, and his life's work and contributions to the Nation of Islam and his sacrifices in the black struggle for freedom, justice, and equality. He was a follower of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. To read more about Student Minister Abdul Allah's life and legacy, subscribe to finalcalldigital.com. And thank you for tuning in to NNV News. Please share your thoughts with us in the comments section below, follow us on social media, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel, NNV News. This is Tarika Shakir Muhammad with nnvnews.com.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps to combat false media. Cash App NNV News.
And thank you for the announcement. We're back with Engine of the Nation. And on a personal note, our final call cover story, Brother Minister Abdul Allah, I had the opportunity and the privilege of publishing his book, 1155. So he is on our minds across the nation, and our condolences to his family. We're back with Brother Ray Muhammad with Green Life Gardens. So, Brother Ray.
Yes, sir.
Serving. Everybody wants to grow. Mm-hmm. Well, one thing that I did this year, I did buy from a seedling company, found a great deal.
Mm-hmm.
72 seedlings for like $15.
Oh, that's good.
Those 72 seedlings turned into 72 plants.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't have a market. So what do you do when you have an abundance? Is it good to preserve? What are your recommendations?
That's a good one. I remember when so the dairy farm that we have in Houston, we initially started in Alvin, Texas, which is about 30 minutes outside of Houston. And then we got another piece of property, which was 20 acres larger in Winnie. And I remember when we got the property, the question was asked, okay, if we plant up an acre of plants, like what can we do with it? And they would, would you be able to do that? And I was like, well, hold on. If you plant, you always have to see it all the way through. So if you start doing so, it's just like with anything else. If you produce something, you have to see it through. So especially with produce, because they're perishable. So the what I said was that whatever you grow, before you start it, you should secure a way to sell it. You don't want to be doing that from the other side. You have to be able to grow it, store it, and sell it. And yet that should be in place before you grow it. Because so that's what you should do. Now I like growing. I just grow to grow sometimes, and I don't even need as much as I grow, but I like growing.
Right.
So I produce way more. I always produce way more than I need that I can sell. But on if you're looking at when you start talking about production, it's very important that you're very disciplined with that. Because whatever operation that you're doing, if the operation is based upon you selling what you're growing, then you want to be able to sell at least 80% of your harvest. So let's use tomatoes. Once you pull those tomatoes off the vine, then now you have that shelf life has started. So now you got to think about packaging, storing, and then shipping. So you don't want to be trying to figure it out once you harvest it and you're looking at a wheelbarrow full of tomatoes and now you're trying to figure out how to sell them. That's the wrong time. Trust me, I've been there.
Right.
Wrong time to be trying to figure that out. You really, and I've been on this side too, to be able to grow something, and it feels a lot better too. Just personally, the way I already know when I harvest this, I'm immediately feeling the order. So you want to be able to, whatever you grow, if you're growing for production, then you want to be able to grow. And my suggestion is, if whatever you're growing for production, then grow a little more. I always tell people, one thing I learned about farming is you got to plant for predators, you got to plant for mishaps, you got to plant for, if you got children, your children going out there running and throwing the ball and landing in your crop. You gotta leave some buffer room, because nature is unpredictable and unforgiving.
Absolutely.
And it will happen to you.
Absolutely. Let's step back in time just a little bit, because in that conversation that we did have with you, of course, we were getting into cows. We're like, oh, we're going to do the milk. And one of the things that I remember you telling me is there's no days off.
There's no days off.
And brother, when I tell you that stuck to this day, you got milk? No, I do not do that. Like, right. But can you just share, there are benefits, of course, of the raw milk, but just that process of having dairy cows and the work that goes with it, and then the return, etc. Just some plus and minuses with the raw milk and dairy cows.
It's I would definitely say, I heard the minister say that the greater the reward, the greater the sacrifice. And cows there's no, one Savior's Day, the minister put on a screen all the things that come from a cow. There's no other animal that can produce that much at that level than a dairy cow can. So when you think about that, then now you got to think about the work that has to go into taking care of and managing something that can produce so much. So, with that, it takes us into, like I said, that the maintenance that it requires is tremendous. And the larger the flock, the different variables that you have to deal with. So one thing I'll say that most people don't even think about, dairy cows produce milk when they calve. That's it. So once they calf have reached a certain point, or once they have given birth and a certain amount of time has passed by and they don't get pregnant again, then that dairy cow don't produce milk no more. So that's a big thing. So you have to, just right there, you have to either one, have a bull on your property, or you got to look into artificial insemination, because that cow have to be pregnant. That cow has to give birth in order to produce milk. And this is just on the birthing and pregnant side of dealing with them, that you also got to think about the dry period. So once the cow is producing milk, it's going to slack off. Then the cow needs to get pregnant again, and you'll still get milk, but at a certain time you got to stop milking the cow so that his body can get ready to give birth to the calf. And that's important, because the calf, and if you're trying to grow your stock of dairy cows, your herd, then you have to think about saving some of your calves. A lot of time people will sell them off, but if you're in it for the long run, it's always best to keep your calves, and that's a whole nother ball game. So that's one side. Then the next side of it, which people are more familiar with, is just the milking of the cows. And so cows, for the most part, they're not looking for you to milk them. You have to get them to come into the milk parlor and feed them while they're there, because if you don't have nothing for them while they're there, then they want to move on. So you got to think about feeding them while they're milking. Once you get the milk comes out the temperature of their body. So you're talking about 90 some degrees. It's literally warm milk when it comes out of their body. That inside of that milk is probiotics. And at that temperature, that milk will not last for long at all. So you have to have a system in place to where you immediately are cooling the milk almost simultaneously as it's coming out of the cow. And what I mean by that is it goes into the milking system, and then before it exits the tube, it's going into a cooling system. Or if you don't have that setup, then you have to have some type of setup to where once you put it in the jugs, then you immediately try to bring the temperature down. And that's just with milking. Then the next step is selling the milk or processing the milk. We process the milk as well. So we sold cream, yogurt, we sold milk kefir, and cheese. So so if you're not milking them, then processing the milk is a whole nother ball game. But really, that's where the majority of the profit comes, is for they call value added products off of milk. Oh yeah, don't forget butter. Butter is something that if you're able to sell it and have a market for it, it's extremely profitable. Butter is raw milk butter. So
now, brother, I just
yeah.
heard 25 employees in that process.
Yes, sir.
You all were doing it with how many brothers and sisters?
Oh, it was myself, Brother Kelvin, which Brother Kelvin was he was the dairy farmer, and his wife, Sister Yolanda. So it was on a regular basis. It was three of us. We would wake up between 5:30 and 6, actually 5. And you had to be up at 5, say prayer, and then, but when we go out there because you have to go out there and get prepared.
Yep.
You got to prepare the feed, put everything, prepare the milk parlor and everything, and then once you prepare everything, then you have to bring the cows in and milk them.
And now that I'm in an aspect of the work, hearing you go through that process, I know that half the cows didn't want to come in this morning, or it's a rainy day, or it's cold, or it's muddy. Like, there's so many other factors that go into that. And so on the consumer side, the consumer just wants to open the freezer and pull that out, and they really don't know the labor that goes into it. And I remember one time we was at the farm, at the Nation's farm, and a sister asked Dr. Ridgely about, is this organic? And Dr. Ridgely's response, I thought, was harsh. I was like, oh my God, Doc, I'd off on her. That was before I started farming.
Right.
Now I understand. And so what would you say to those like yourself, like me, that are, was zealous about the minister's instruction and have stayed in it long enough to see the sunshine? What would you say to those that are excited right now? What would be your recommendation with them getting into aspects of farming?
My recommendation would definitely be to set some goals. Excuse me. Agriculture and farming is a journey. It's not in order to last in this, it has to be something that you really have a passion for. And it's going to take time. I tell people all the time, because they talk about, well, I don't have a green thumb, and I've never had success with growing. And I tell them that it takes time for you to get to that point. But once you have acquired that knowledge of growing, then it's a gift that keeps giving. So definitely set goals, read, take in as much information as you can, and just keep pressing forward. Because whether for you, for your family, for your extended family, I guarantee you it'll be beneficial for you in the future.
Yes, sir. Another one for you.
Yes, sir.
No dollar amount, acreage limit. If we said, okay, Brother Ray, what's your ideal aspect of farming that you want to do, that you want to enjoy? And we got the one and an open checkbook. Like, what would you go for?
the land that I would purchase would probably be around 1,000 acres.
Mm.
Um, there's so much that you can do um, on land, but I would want to do farming on a lot of different levels. The first would be, of course, growing produce. The next thing that I would want to put on that land is fruit trees. Fruit trees are a wonderful investment. You think about one apple tree produces, maybe 150 apples. That's just one. Let alone if you living in California or Florida or even here in Houston, which we can kind of get away with it, but an avocado tree,
Mm.
man, what? You see how much avocados go for in the store? And
Yeah.
just imagine if you had 20 avocado trees. Man, I mean, so that another thing is blueberry bushes. I mean, that you think about how much blueberries are, how beneficial they are. So, of course, I would have trees and fruit bushes. Then, and you have to have livestock. Eggs is a critical thing. Like everybody uses eggs. That's one of the things during this pandemic that you saw that ran off the shelf that they were limiting people to is eggs. Now, just imagine if you had a dairy, you were selling eggs, you had layers,
Mm-hmm.
then I mean, you'll be able to sell as many as you can produce in times like that. So eggs, livestock is critical. The other thing that I want to get into is raising sheep because sheep actually produce two things. The lamb you can use for meat, but the wool takes you into the second necessity, which is clothing. And so another thing that I want to get into is growing cotton, which is also it's a crop that you grow on the ground, but it's a material. It produces a material that you use for textiles, which is clothing. So again, that's a second necessity, and but it comes directly from the land, and it's an easy crop to grow. It's not a hard crop. It's an easy crop to grow, and then you can take that and have it processed, and then you have material for growing for sewing clothes or putting together clothes. And then you have to have on that property a facility that processes all of your goods that you want to process, things that you want to make, your value added products. So you have an area where you process it, and then on the same property you have an area of storefront where people can come and purchase it. So that's quite a bit of land.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, if I could get as much land as I wanted in the open, oh yeah, I would. Not only that, I would have some type of facility there, a learning center,
Yeah.
there on the property to where people can come and take classes and can be taught aquaponics system. I love aquaponics because you can raise fish.
Mm-hmm.
So not only will you be raising chicken and then you have cows, but then you have fish as well. Then you have an area where you have bees. So you have a complete agriculture ecosystem
Yeah.
right there. And that is the engine of any community. So from that, then you build housing. And then everybody that live on that property have everything that's needed to sustain life.
Wow. I mean, you just gave us a blueprint right there, brother.
Yeah.
And I hope people are taking notes and sitting down and dissecting it. And then I hope that there's somebody out there. Well, I know there's somebody out there
It is.
that's gonna say, "Hey, brother Ray, we're gonna wire you this." And
I'll be ready.
yeah, look, we always give the kind of the good about the farming or whatever, but we all know that there's some times like where you get a little scared. Farming
Right.
is and up. It gets dark at the farm, and my son and I, we just do not enjoy the snakes in the chicken coop, right?
Oh yeah.
Fail, at some point she gonna keep laying them eggs, and you gonna hit that king snake that's 6 foot. What are one of those some things that have happened, or that you some fears and some trepidations you've seen in dealing with farming?
That's a good one. I would say the most intimidating is what you said when you rural farming. Yeah, and that's something that if you're not from the country or spend time in the country, you have no idea
Yeah.
of the darkness, especially on moonless nights where there's no.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh yeah, it's dark. It's real dark. It's like you can't see
Yeah.
like past your porch.
Yeah.
And then when you hear coyotes howling in the distance, you're like, yeah, I'm gonna stay inside. I'm gonna stay inside.
Oh wow.
So, but I would say, that snakes, of course, we've had snakes. But for me, I'm not. Snakes don't intimidate me. I've never been surprised by one. I've always seen them from a distance.
Mm-hmm.
And then I, get rid of them. We don't have any dangerous predators where I am. I know some places, I can only imagine living in an area where I know they got mountain lions or bears or something like that. Yeah, that's a whole nother ball game. But I take comfort here in Houston. There's nothing that's going to pop out that's going to really, give me a run for my money where I'm gonna have to fight for my life. But like I said, if I live somewhere where they had mountain lions, yeah, that would be a different story. Like overseas, I can't imagine living somewhere in tigers or something like that. They just no. So other than that, I would say that it's just a matter of the individual, but determination is what causes people to push forward. You just think about every place that I just mentioned, they're farming there. They're growing food there, even in the face of, possible poisonous snakes or, wild hogs is real. They real here. And some people are afraid of them. But determination, makes you figure out a way. You will figure out a way. It's always a way. Where there's a will, there's a way. And that's 100%.
Absolutely. And the last question, tell
Mhm.
me how this journey of farming, what impact has it had on and who helps you with your farming?
Um, just to make sure I understand, you said what impact has it had with my family and who helps me?
Mm-hmm.
I would say that during this year and facing what we're looking at on the cliff of severe famine in America, my children, they are not old enough to completely understand what we're facing. But my wife has been extremely grateful that she chose to marry someone who has the ability to grow food, because it's a real security, especially facing what we're facing.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that, my family is definitely grateful. My wife is definitely grateful. My children, my babies, they love going out into the garden. They love going out there and helping me and picking stuff. And so, it's definitely helped us in that way, adding a sense of security for us, as it relates to being able to produce our own.
Awesome. Awesome. And tell our viewing audience where they can find you on social media and any products that you have, where they can purchase and support.
Yes, sir. They can find me on Instagram at Green Life Gardens, and also on Facebook at Green Life Gardens. Um, and right now, we don't have any products. We're working on that. This coming spring into the summer, we will have a line of products that we will be putting out to really to help people grow. I'm looking at products I'm looking to develop products that can really help people get over the learning curve quicker. Because if you don't know exactly what to put on your plan or how to improve your soil, and I can sell you something to where you just got to do this a couple of times, and this can help get you around that curve, that will be, I know it'll be helpful. And having one thing I learned from, having customers is that first season, if they are somewhat successful with their garden, they are more prone to continue growing. So I really strive to really help my customers that first season to have a degree of success, so that they'll be motivated the next season and the following season. And then once after 1 or 2 seasons, really they off, they off on their own, because they've learned, they see that they can do it, they have confidence in growing.
Well, Brother Ray, man, brother, I'm so honored to have this time with you, brother.
Likewise.
So much respect for you, and
Likewise. Yes, sir.
And to you and your family. And thanks again for taking this interview. And
yes, sir. Thank you.
We thank you for tuning in to NNV News. Please share your thoughts with us in the comment section below. Follow us on social media, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel, NNV News. I'm Patrick Muhammad with National Network View.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps to combat false media. Cash App, NNV News.
The nation must acquire land. Production of food, clothing, and shelter. Freedom is independent agriculture. Farming is the engine of the nation.